Hello, sweet friends. This is Mrs. Cox, and I'm here to give you another lesson. Today, you are going to read of Plymouth Plantation. So let's roll into our journal before we start. So, what I want you to do in your journals, think about what you know about the challenges that may have been faced by early American colonists and Native Americans when they encountered each other. Share what you know already about their encounters and share questions you have about the challenges that may have been faced by each group. So pause this, take 10 or 15 minutes to fill out your journals, think about this, reminisce and ruminate in your mind, and then keep rolling. All right. So today we have the genre historical narrative. This is going to tell us a true story about real people and events that happened in the past in the order in which they happened. If a person given the account was at the scene when the events happened, the narrative is a primary source. In this selection, you're going to evaluate the text message, the tone, and the use of language to identify the author's purpose for writing this narrative. Remember, the author's purpose is the reason that he or she writes a particular text. This purpose could be to inform, it could be to entertain, to express beliefs, feelings, or to persuade you of something. Some texts will seek to achieve more than one of these things. So, to analyze and then evaluate an author's purpose, I want you to consider the following. A text genre will provide clues to the overall purpose. Of Plymouth Plantation is a historical narrative again, a text that tells about real events that happened in the past. A text's audience, or the people that are intended to read the text, is very important to the author's purpose as well. Of Plymouth Plantation, for example, was intended to be read by future generations. That's you guys. A work's tone, or the author's attitude toward the subject, will provide clues about their purpose. As you read, you'll note the author's vivid descriptions and what they reveal about his feelings about the events and the people. And then the text's overall message or its central idea suggests the author's purpose for writing. So you can kind of look at clues from his message as you read. All right. Let's talk about diction and rhetorical devices. These are elements of language that help authors shape the perception of readers. So diction is the writer's choice of words, and it could be formal, informal, technical or common, abstract or concrete, but it's the word choices that they are making in their writing. And then rhetorical devices are a technique that writers use to communicate ideas and convince readers of the truth. So things like repetition and allusions are examples of rhetorical devices. You could have rhetorical questions. There's a lot of different things that fall under that umbrella. All right, so before the Pilgrims came ashore, they wrote the Mayflower Compact to form government and choose a governor. In the first few months, half the group died of diseases. Native Americans were wary, but a chief called Samoset, who had learned English from fishers, came and helped them anyways. He brought 5 others, including Squanto, which you've probably heard of, and they made a peace agreement. Squanto served as an interpreter and taught the settlers how to survive on the new land. At their first harvest, the Pilgrims and the Native Americans had a feast. That was the first Thanksgiving. Seem familiar? So this is what William Bradford said. I wrote this account so that their children may see with what difficulties their fathers wrestled in going through these things in their first beginnings, and how God brought them along, notwithstanding all their weaknesses and infirmities. So he didn't publish this narrative when he wrote it. He just saved it so that future generations could look back at what happened. So you need to be able to understand hardships that were experienced in order to understand this lesson. So a hardship is something that causes great suffering and difficulty, and a convenience is something that increases comfort and fulfills needs. Both of these are happening, and you need to be able to pick out when they're happening. Because the events in the narrative took place hundreds of years ago, before the existence of modern conveniences, there were a lot of hardships. Here's some words and phrases that may be unfamiliar to you. To make use of, which means to use for a purpose. Common store, these are goods or supplies that are shared by everyone. Of 100 and odd persons, scarce 50 remained, which means out of more than 100 people, only 50 survived. Spared no pains means that they did everything that they could. Skulking is like sneaking around quietly to avoid being noticed. And made way for means to clear a path for people. All right, so today you're going to do that journal entry I gave you at the beginning, and then you're going to do of Plymouth Plantation in Canvas. So you'll have this video and slideshow up there, and you'll have a reading passage and then questions. So good luck. Let us know if there's